So we need a motion by Trustee Rizzo, who put it on the floor, and this is to add a new agenda item for staff consideration. All right, all in favor? Okay, thank you.
Aye.
All right, so we will move to our first item, TS 3.1, update on the implementation of...
Did you add your meeting schedule item?
Okay.
Meeting schedule.
All right. Informed by staff, there's an item to add our meeting schedule for 2025 onto our agenda. Okay. Staff are proceeding to get it online. Okay. Can I move it or do I? Okay. Our meeting schedule is moved on the floor. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we will now proceed to consider TS 3.1, update on the implementation of the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Agreement. Today we have the Manager, Policy and Planning, Stephanie Hansen, and the Director, Service System Planning and Policy Development, Children's Services, Karen Gray, to provide a presentation. Stephanie and Karen, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. And we'll hand it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having us. We are happy to be here to provide an update on the Canada-wide and Early Learning Childcare Agreement and how it's rolling out in the City of Toronto. So I'll just pass it over to Stephanie.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. It is our pleasure to be here today. I'm also accompanied by one of my staff, Una Kim, my policy lead. So just jumping in, really wanted to take this time to share with you the implementation of the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Agreement. And we wanted to talk about the expansion, as well as talk about the role of schools in the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Agreement. And I might just refer to that as Canada-wide moving forward. Partnerships with the school board are essential for us to operate childcare. About 44% of our operating capacity is within schools in the City of Toronto. We have a long-standing partnership with schools. We've created early years plans together. We've created service plans together. And so we are delighted to continue with this partnership. We do meet with our English school boards every 2 weeks to find out what's going on and share emerging issues, as well as we will be continuing to increase our partnership as we roll out the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Program. Just in terms of the program, this program is funded by the federal government. It seeks to bring childcare to an average of $10 a day by 2026. And we've been working consistently with the provincial government to implement this program. And there have been recent announcements of the cancellation of school-based capital projects. And so we want to talk about the impact of that here today. Also, just about the program, we are supporting children who are under the age of 6 years old with more affordable care for children and for their families. Breaking this implementation up into 3 phases, you can see in phase 1, we had an open enrollment at that particular juncture in time. At that time, we also saw 25% fee reduction for families from the family perspective, which many families were happy to see, and they also received refund checks, which I'm sure came in hand. In phase 2, you see more enrollment happening with operators. Again, another fee reduction of 52.75% for families. And this is the time in phase 2 where we're opening up expansion based on directed growth that the province has asked us to do. And that really is about looking into the neighborhoods and the wards that require childcare and are under-resourced at this particular juncture in time. As we move into phase 3, we see the introduction of the cost-based funding guideline. which I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. We also see additional enrollment. We're hitting a saturation point in terms of operators coming into the program. We're also seeing a minimum of $12 a day come into play, and we're seeing that the program, the Canada-wide program, is becoming mainstream. So the province is wanting all operators to come into the program. Any operators who are not coming into the program will not be eligible for additional funding through general operating funding, fee subsidy, or wage enhancement grants. As a result of the implementation, committee and council thought it necessary to convene with sector partners for a Canada-wide implementation roundtable that took place in March of 2024. The challenges and opportunities that abounded from the conversation that came from critical stakeholders, advocates, sector partners included an urgent need for capital, and that's capital funding, addressing workforce compensation, and prioritizing access and inclusion. Subsequently, after the implementation roundtable, on July the 24th and 25th, there were a number of actions that were tabled to respond and help the city respond to the implementation thus far. I want to go back and touch on the directed growth plan because I think it's really important. The directed growth plan came with an allotment for the City of Toronto of 18,000 spaces approximately, and 13,600 allocated to the City of Toronto Service System Manager community space expansion, and 4,550 spaces allocated towards school expansions. And this is for the duration of the 5-year program from 2022 to 2026. I wanted to share this slide because I think it represents the challenge that we're up against when we lose spaces in critical areas of the City of Toronto. You can see that the majority of the 48 spaces, 48 schools, my apologies, that have been canceled, totaling approximately 3,000 spaces, are in high needs areas. The areas shaded in red represent areas that have an under-resourced childcare programs, and the yellow represents the medium, and the green represents where we're doing well in terms of childcare. The 48 canceled school projects really speak to what families wanted, which was a co-location of school and childcare. Further, I would just like to point out, and I think we've brought to this committee before, our Growth Strategy 2017, which aligns with the Canada-wide expansion priorities. Also within the directed growth, we were asked to look at priority populations, including Black, Indigenous, Francophone communities, all of which are being affected in these particular areas. Typically speaking, we see Northwest Toronto, Etobicoke, these areas being impacted in a significant way, as well as Scarborough, with the under-resourcing of childcare. As I mentioned before, sitting at around 3,000 in terms of canceled spaces, TDSB at about 2,000, 1,000 for TCDSB. This is critical and has impacts on how we will implement the Canada-wide program. The City of Toronto, and I just wanted to make it really clear, the City of Toronto, through the Canada-wide program, would provide operational dollars for child care spaces located in schools. Before I move on, I should mention that as part of the Canada-wide program, there was a component of the program that was named startup grants. These startup grants are really for toys, equipment, things that are temporal in nature. They're not meant for large capital projects. In terms of the ministry direction and the capital funding, we know that in July of 2024, the ministry, through letters to the school boards, indicated a plan to transfer school-based spaces to community-based allocation. It is anticipated that the ministry will adjust targets transferred from school-based to community-based spaces, hopefully in the near future. Capital funding to encourage the creation of school-based spaces is important, as school-based spaces are accessible for families and they're located in the community, and they promote seamless transitions from childcare to school. In terms of the city's response to the canceled school board spaces, we did ask for a reversal of that announcement. We did ask for funds to be pooled and given back to the boards. And we did ask if that is not possible, if those monies could be transferred to the City of Toronto. That is our hope. In terms of the impacts of the cancellations in the City of Toronto, we know that communities, as I showed you before, are really in need of childcare, and we want to continue to build into our 2017 growth strategy. However, our hands are tied as a city. Recently, we did a survey with parents, and 25% of parents and caregivers surveys indicated their preferred location is near or in their child's school for childcare. Of the respondents that only have children who are attending school, 59% indicated their preferred childcare location is in and near a child's school. And this speaks to the school first model. I won't jump into that today, but essentially it's parents and community that have said that a co-location of school and childcare works best for them. Coming to a close here, at the end of 2024 in Q4, we will be coming back to council and committee with a report on the expansion efforts that we've made thus far, looking at the totality of the Canada-wide program. We will be bringing an analysis of the cost-based funding model that the province has provided, and we're hoping to get a few more details before we report back to committee and council. As well, we will be providing at that point in time an update on our 5-year service plan, and looking forward to getting inputs both from the community and from committee and council, and looking to launch that next year. I want to thank the committee for their time and for listening to my presentation today. And thank you for hearing us on sharing this important issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Members, questions to staff? Members online, feel free to come off mute or raise your hand. Trustee Shan.
Thank you. For you, Mr. Chair, I don't know if it's a question for the staff or to council. Is there any further? So we have also written a letter a few times on this issue through TDSB, trying to ask for the same thing that the city has asked. Just asking if there's any further opportunities of a joint letter maybe, or something that might be possible to reiterate the same thing together, as we have done the same thing, and city has done the same thing as well, Chair. So in some way to kind of start showing a bit more collaborated request of the same thing to be to reverse the cancellation, to allow pooling of the resources, to commit to seamless day childcare models, and also to kind of keep not-for-profit models active.
To staff, have we, I have a faint recollection that earlier in the spring, we had a letter, a correspondence to staff.
Through the chair, yes, you're correct. The mayor and the chairs of both school boards did a letter to the ministry, and the ministry did respond to all three of us.
And for public knowledge, what was the gist of the response?
The minister did respond back to the school boards as well as the city, thanking us for our concern and indicating that the funds or the spaces would be transferred to the community where they feel that those spaces could be repurposed quickly in a more fast way, for lack of.
Trustee Shan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I do remember signing that along with Councillor Bravo as well. I'm just thinking that if we can kind of have a bit, I don't know if it's possible to have a bit more stronger sense of advocacy from that letter leading back into the same request, but maybe concert that together with some sort of a way in which we can step it up a little bit more. I think it's something way too important for us to give up. So if that's a possibility, maybe that's something we can follow up later. But trying to see if this committee also could possibly be engaged in that. Yeah.
No, exactly. I feel similarly. Thank you, Trustee Shan. Any other members on this item? Questions, staff? Trustee Rizzo?
So when was the response from the minister? I'm assuming the Minister of Education, correct? Through you, Mr. Chair.
I don't have the date of that response, but it did go to the school boards as well, so.
Okay, but I don't have it, so.
Okay. We can follow up with you if you want.
No, it's okay. I'm making a point, I think. I believe that you probably have a response from the Minister of Education or the former Minister of Education versus the new Minister of Education. So perhaps it's worth a shot to continue to advocate with the new minister, because you never know. What do you think is their end game here? I mean, we know that they have offered to pay 25% of the funding cost per project to the school boards, which means that, none of them get done because unless you have millions and millions of dollars, you can't build any of the childcare centers. So what do you think the end game is? I mean, they don't want school boards to have childcare centers in schools anymore? I'm to be honest, I'm totally baffled by it.
Through the chair, I don't know what the intent is. I do know that they have a target. So the provincial government has a target for expansion with the federal government. That's 86,000 new spaces. The City of Toronto received 18,000 of those 86,000 that need to come on board by 2026. I think the response from the minister said certainly they wanted to expedite the creation of these new spaces. I'm not quite sure if the boards have had conversations with their ministry partners to find that out. But from the City of Toronto, we have space targets. We know what the total space target is for the province, and we know the time frame in which they need to come through.
Okay, Mr. Chair, we have Derek Boyce, who is the Associate Director with the Toronto Catholic District School Board. I'm just wondering if he could give us an update from Toronto Catholic.
Mr. Boyce?
Thank you, and through the chair to the assembly. As Trustee Rito has said, we had received correspondence from the ministry, which stated, as per the report, that they are looking to create those spaces outside of schools and in the community. We've had no further communication or indication as to when that will happen or how that will occur, other than what's been in the media, and that the former Minister of Education had alluded to perhaps some of these spaces being in vacant leased spaces in plazas or adjacent communities. But as Trustee Rizzo has said, we are a staunch believer that these spaces are much better served for the community if they're in schools, and perhaps another run or another communication with the new Minister of Education would be worthwhile. But as of right now, these spaces are still canceled. We do not have the funding to create them, and so they are. We are under the assumption that we are not proceeding with them, and under the assumption that the province has an alternative plan. Thank you.
And could you tell us, through you, Mr. Chair, to the Associate Director, how many childcare centers were impacted at the Toronto Catholic District School Board?
Thank you. Through the chair to.
Sorry if you don't have the answer, it's okay.
No, off the top of my head, I know it was 20 locations. I believe this report said something around 1,000 spaces. I think we're in that neighborhood, plus or minus. So, but it was 20 locations across the city with about 1,000. Yeah, I think this report is accurate. About 1,048 spaces.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Boyce. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Trustee Rizzo. Any other members on this item for questions to staff? Seeing none. Are there any speakers to this item?
I was hoping he'd move a motion.
Sorry, I actually had a quick question I forgot to staff, and it's just on, was there any commentary from the federal government as part of the CW ELCC agreement that addresses the school-based model?
Through the chair, we did not receive a response from the federal government.
Okay, thank you. But in the initial thing, there was no requirement or commentary on that being the model?
That relationship is between the federal government and the provincial government under the Canada-wide agreement, and that communication is reciprocal between the two of them, not with the City of Toronto.
Okay. Thank you.
So, I don't know if this is on or not. Okay, got it. Can I speak? Okay, so maybe Nathan would like to move a motion, but I certainly, I haven't got one written. But how do we proceed if we want further advocacy? And perhaps some more communication with the new Minister of Education. I'm asking for advice because I don't have a motion ready, but I think it's worthwhile pursuing.
I think perhaps I would suggest the chairs of the respective boards connect with a member of the executive team or the mayor's office to pursue that course of action with the new minister. Yeah. Trustee Shen, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm also the acting chair with the school board at TDSP, so I can initiate first, and then we can follow up. I don't think we'll need a motion specifically for it, and because by the more time motion goes to council, it'll probably be further time loss. So we can, because we've already written already, so it's the content is not different as much. I can generate it, and maybe it might not be a bad idea to also write to the federal level as well to ask for more support for a school-based model. I can initiate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Shan. Trustee Rizzo?
Yeah?
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Thank you, everyone. Hearing and seeing no further speakers, is there a motion to receive this item for information? Trustee Rizzo, all in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Thank you. Our next item is TS. Thank you, staff. Thank you. The next item is TS 3.2, Community Recreation Youth Programs in Schools in Summer 2024 update. Members, you'll remember our motion from the June 2024 meeting to address concerns in areas that face challenges and to give us an update on how our motion and the actions coming out of that June item. We have Acting Director, Community Recreation Parks Forestry Division, Kathy Vincelli, to give a presentation. Kathy, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's our pleasure to be here today to present our efforts over the summer. I'm joined today by Sharon Butler, who is the manager of the Community Development and Youth Unit. So if we have any questions that I can't answer, she will answer on my behalf. So as you know, at the July 16th Executive Committee meeting, we were requested to work with SDFA and with PFR to advance violence prevention opportunities for youth during the upcoming summer months, including recreation programs. So we took that away and very quickly put a plan in place to offer a Schools Out, Recreations In program. This program consisted of 4 weeks of free drop-in sports programming in August 2024 for youth ages 13 to 17. This program was offered in partnership with Social Development, Finance and Admin, with the Toronto District School Board and the Toronto Catholic District School Board across 15 school locations across the city. And we want to thank the school boards for their partnership on this and providing the space for us to be able to go and activate these sports drop-ins. Programs were led by the city's community recreation staff and promoted by our 31 local youth outreach workers. Our YOWs provided youth with resources for recreational and leadership development opportunities in their local communities, in addition to conducting building skills through recreation, employment readiness program, information sessions. Our program objectives included providing free, safe, inclusive, and supportive recreational spaces for youth that promote both physical and mental well-being. We wanted to foster positive connections between youth and their communities, facilitated by mentors through organized sports and group activities. And we wanted to address violence prevention holistically, providing resources, mentorship, and engaging youth in skill-building activities that promote self-discipline and conflict resolution. So over the course of those 4 weeks, we managed to reach 597 youth who participated in our drop-in sports and leadership programs. We provided 270 hours of indoor and outdoor programming over the 4 weeks, and we were able to secure 9 TDSB locations and 6 TCDSB locations to run these programs. The programs included a variety of sports, including soccer, basketball, badminton, and volleyball. They ran 2 days a week, 3 hours each day per location over the course of the 4 weeks. They ran either from 1 to 4 p.m. at TDSB locations or 12 to 3 at TCDSB locations. And the average attendance for the day for each session ranged from 6 to 22 youth. We also ran a total of 15 building skills through recreation information sessions, which was 1 per site. And just to let you know, BSTR, Building Skills Through Recreation, was created in 2019 targeting Black and Indigenous youth ages 14 to 24 across the City of Toronto to provide various transferable skills and knowledge base in preparation to obtain, retain, and advance in meaningful work. The program focuses on supporting youth with resume writing, job application processes, interviewing, and opportunities to gain pre-employment certifications free of cost that lead to employment opportunities in parks, forestry, and recreation and beyond. This includes some certifications such as lifeguarding, sports certifications, first aid, CPR, just to name a few. So it really does prepare our youth to enter the workforce. So this gives you sort of a spread of the locations that we ran these programs out. We managed to have locations in about 12 wards. And given the timing of the request, the school boards were able to provide the following 15 locations at many schools, many of the schools had limited space, so we were able to get into 15 schools. 4 of the locations were situated in neighborhood improvement areas. 4 of the school locations were situated in safe TO zones, and 3 of the school locations fell in both safe TO zones and neighborhood improvement areas. Although many school locations were not situated in an NIA or safe TO zone, many youth that attended the program were from NIAs. This gives you sort of a geographical look. Again, I just want to remind us all that this came late in the summer to try and put this together. So we did try to make it, geographically spread across the city. The blue and black icons show all of the schools that participated, and the blue icons were those that were in safe TO zones. And they were in Regent Park, West Hill, Eglinton East, and East Lamoureux. So it just kind of gives you, although it came late, we were able to sort of spread this across the city as much as possible. I also want to just highlight that we also, in addition to these programs, we also ran numerous programs with our Camp TO program for children 6 to 12. We had 15,460 registrations with children and youth, 818 courses or programs, which included adapted and inclusive camps. And those were run at 31 TDSB and 11 TCDSB locations across the city for a total of 28,063 course hours. So a lot of extra programming in addition to that was already planned, which was great, and we continue to do that every summer. Next steps. So through continued partnership, we hope, with the boards and SDFA, we are exploring expansion of programming for 2025. Additional funding to support this program will be considered through the 2025 budget process, but we are looking to expand into at least 10 locations per community council area. We are looking to once again partner with the school boards to help provide this service. We do intend to locate them in safe TO zones, which coincides with NIAs. And that's all I have for you. Any questions? Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Kathy. Members, please, if we can get the screen of the members, I can see if any is raising their hand. Trustee DeShane, and then Trustee Shan. Go ahead.
First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for running this program. I think it's an excellent initiative. And I recognize that all the programs were run out of TDSB and TCDSB schools. And so I represent the French Catholic Board. I'm just wondering if any promotion was done through the French boards as well, although even though the schools were not used, because we have several schools kind of in those areas as well.
Yeah, I believe this year, through the chair, the programs we definitely went through the TCDSB and TDSB, but we are happy to absolutely work with you going forward to see if any of these programs could be offered in the other boards for next year.
So thank you very much. Just it not necessarily being offered within the schools, but just kind of being promoted within our schools, or is it that you have to attend the school where the program is offered, or is it available to anyone in the community? It's
available to anyone in the community, and we would be happy to promote that through your board as well. Yes, it's open to anyone. Yeah, it's not just for those at that school.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Trustee DeShane. Trustee Shan?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. The special program that they added program that was held in the 15 schools. What was the additional allocation of budget for it, and was it the City of Toronto that was funding it directly?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I
Just
didn't
wanted
quite
to
get
know
question.
where the funding for the additional programs, how much was the additional funding, and whether it was funded through City of Toronto or if the province or federal government had provided that support.
The cost for this year was approximately $10,000, and it was primarily for City of Toronto staff, recreation workers, and the staffing that was attached to this program. Was provided by the City of Toronto, but I do want to highlight that the both school boards provided the space free of charge. So it was a great partnership between the two.
Did you, sorry, Mr. Chair, just want to clarify. Did you say 10,000?
10,000 for this year, yes, for the 15 locations, for the staffing.
Wow, that's amazing. It would be helpful, maybe we can work with the city as well to kind of calculate maybe the in-kind contribution of space and other things that's put in as well from our end to show the synergy of the work. I also want to know how the location conversation is it something that can start early in terms of trying to identify the ideal location, accessible one. Some of the schools have, sometimes some of the areas there is a need for a bit of a neutral space as opposed to a space where some of the youth who need it the most would be able to access and so on. So maybe having that conversation, especially if it's going to be focused predominantly in the safety zones, would be helpful to have. And the school board also has the local safety tables that have been set up by TDSB, school board. When I say school board, we have it. So is it possible, just want through you, Mr. Chair, I want to know, when would the conversations about location start?
Thank you. Through the chair, we are starting those conversations now, so we will absolutely be in touch with the boards, and through Sharon's team, she will work with the various tables to get those conversations. We want to start earlier this year, so we're well prepared for next summer.
Thank you very much. My last question is around the program. Was it identical program in all of the 15 sites, or was there differences in terms of sports activities and other things that were offered to different places?
They were meant to be locally responsive, so depending on what the youth at that location wanted in terms of sports, that's what was offered. So it would have varied across locations.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Chair, if it's possible to have some descriptions of the programs, that'll be helpful if to kind of see what were some of the differences or what was kind of the I know there is a broader a description there in the slides, and that'll be helpful maybe as a follow-up item. Maybe it doesn't have to be coming back to the meeting, but if there's a way to send to the committee, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Shan. Trustee Rizza?
Yeah, thank you very much. And it freaked me out when you said it was $10,000. That's good value for money for sure. I'm just going to make an assumption here because I don't quite know the answer to this. So this was the first year for the youth program?
We did do it one other year in 2023. We did in 2022. We did offer this program once, but this was the second request for this program. So we hope to bring it back as a regular offering. Okay, and considering the cost, it's like I said, it's good value for money. I mean, there were almost 600 kids who participated in the program, but there's a lot more kids out there, right? So I'm just wondering what your plans are in order to promote the program next year. Through the chair, absolutely. I think given a little bit more time, we'll have a lot more time to promote the program. We have 31 youth outreach workers that will be promoting it at all our locations and in their communities as they go out to engage with youth. So they will be promoting. But we'll have more time, right, next year. So it'll be through social media, through our youth enhanced youth spaces there'll be a lot more time to promote.
Right, I think that I forgot her name, the Catholic school trustee for the French board, perhaps, and it's a suggestion, maybe you need to connect with all of our communication departments so that it's also on our websites and sent out to parents and, in this case, probably all the high schools.
Through the chair, that would be fabulous. Again, a great team makes a great partnership, so we're happy to work with each of the boards and your communication teams to get that word out.
So how do you think that's going to happen?
Well,
Through you, Mr.
I'll turn it
Chair.
over to Sharon.
Thank you for the question through the board, through we are also part of the multi-sector gun violence reduction committee that is chaired through SDFA. Some great work that's being done. So we are at that table with many of these school boards. And so that's where we can initially connected, and that is also the plan to continue the connection through this particular committee. And then we will develop a work plan with respect to outreach and developing that plan for next year nice and early. As we had indicated, we did it a little bit later than we wanted to this year, and so the plan is to work through that starting now.
Okay, so I highly recommend, that's a great idea, perfect. But every school board has a communication department, and the city has a communication department, so they need to get connected. And I guess just saying it here isn't going to make it happen. So that's why I'm asking, like, what is it that you need the school boards to do? What is it that the city needs to do to ensure that it is promoted through their communications department effectively?
Through the chair, we'll take this back. We'll develop a proper communications plan. Obviously, we want to get it out early before school ends. So we will come back to your communications teams with a comprehensive communication plan.
And just out of curiosity as well, again, good value for money, but do you have money to provide the program in an expanded format next year? Is it in the budget? Is it, I don't know the answers to that. I don't know what the city has done around this.
Through the chair, anticipating that we continue the partnership with the boards in terms of access to space, we are looking at approximately $66,000 to run next year, and this will be considered through the 2025 operating budget process.
And it's been
It hasn't been approved. The budget has not been approved at this time. It'll go through
it
that
was for
process.
the 10,000 was for the last budget.
The last, yes. We absorbed that into our operating costs.
Does it help to have some advocacy from this committee to encourage council to support a well-deserved program across the city?
I think,
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I guess I'm asking you now.
No, I think this will be given staff support and success. I don't see us facing any obstacles if that's the projected amount. So I don't see, and I think if we do face it, I'm sure we can rely on everyone's advocacy at this table, but I don't think it requires anything.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Rizzo. Seeing no other questions, I'll ask Trustee Duchesne.
Yes, thanks again. So who should we reach out? Because I know you're working with the two English boards. Is there someone we should reach out to make sure that we're connected for the program next year?
Yeah, we can, through the chair, we can reach out to you. If you would like to reach out to Sharon Butler, who is the manager of Community Development and Youth, that can be done as well. But we will ensure we'll be reaching out to the various boards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Duchesne. A few questions from my end. And first of all, thank you for staff for creating and implementing this program on short notice. Just as a reminder, we saw, a number of troubling instances across our city that precipitated this timely I guess, intervention, or of course with limited scope, given short time. How is the communication of these programs disseminated to local communities?
Thanks for the question. Through the chair, that was mainly through our youth outreach workers. We have 31 youth outreach workers that are across the city, and they are connected in with youth, obviously through our spaces, with respect to the community centers, and also other agencies and organizations that they work with.
Okay.
Also through other divisions, SDFA is also aware of these programs, and any sort of clientele group that they're connected in with, we share the information as such.
Thank you. I think in light of the previous kind of comments and even staff's response, I think greater folks at the table disseminating out even through councillor and trustee offices. For example, I've got more than close to 6,000 people on our mailing list who are residents within the community. So getting that out through social media, through elected officials, through school boards, I think the more places of communication, the better impact we have in terms of getting young people out. I think the reality of some of the social factors in our city is that these social issues run deep, and hopefully not, but in the scenario that we need to be prepared for next year, next summer. The graphic on Camp TO, can the locations of Camp TO sites be shared with members?
Yes, absolutely. We can go back and pull that information.
That'd be great. And how does the city perform hiring for Camp TO?
We start hiring in January. We start advertising in January on our city's website. So, we promote through community centers. Last year, we had the mayor come out and do an announcement when we really want to have a focus on summer hiring. So that all begins in January. So we encourage folks to go to our city's website and look for employment opportunities, and they will be listed there.
Thank you. That's great to know. As a new, I don't know if I could say new anymore, but recent councillor, I think having those points of information, whether it's opportunities or hiring, shared directly with councillor and trustee offices, we can get that out to a larger network of people. I think by putting on the website, it leaves the onus on communities to be proactively search these things. And as we know, not all communities, not all people have that social capital, those tools to be able to proactively engage these important opportunities, especially in lower SES households. Just one last question on the safe TO versus a safe TO zone versus a neighborhood improvement area. What is the difference? Is there any?
We're going to defer to SDFA.
Yeah, thank you for the question. For the safe TO zones, we have done analysis on communities that have been disproportionately impacted by gun violence specifically, as well as looked at another indicators related to the roots of violence. And so we have identified within each neighborhood specific communities that we are focusing on for violence prevention work.
Is every safe TO zone also a neighborhood improvement area?
The majority are connected to neighborhood improvement areas. There are a few that are outside of neighborhood improvement areas.
Can staff share, not for right now, but the definitions, the criteria of what qualifies a neighborhood for as an improvement area? Not now, but is that cataloged and
yes, we
established?
We can share that for sure.
Okay, thank you. And this is the last question. Is staff comfortable to come back in February with a draft plan for this item for the 25 summer?
That would be no problem at all.
Great.
And I'd just like to go back to the hiring, if I can, for a minute. We do promote more than just on the website. We have a press release. We would typically let councillors know that we are in, full hiring mode. We have newsletters that we send out that we put that in. So it isn't just through the website. There are other avenues to find out about local hiring.
Yeah, excellent. If that can be shared with all council's trustees, then we can put that in our weekly newsletters. And so what I would suggest is if we have a draft plan, just a general overview for summer 25 in February, and then subsequently in June, if we can have, obviously, we would be in a position to have a final plan for summer 25, that would be great.
Not a problem at all.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions from members? Seeing none, we'll move to comments on this item. Speakers to the item? Okay, thank you. I guess I'll have one comment. I know just for consideration consumption from staff, I think there was an allusion to doing 10 per community council. I think it is natural to kind of look at an equal distribution, but I think we all know we've got to look by equity, by neighborhood, by safety, and this is part of a bigger package of tools we need to increase feeling of belonging and safety in our city. So just a reminder of that commitment we have to equity. Next, so seeing no other speakers, if we can have a motion to receive the item for information. Trustee Rizzo, thank you. All in favor say aye, raise your hand. Great. The next item on our agenda requires a deferral. It's the student food program that requires more work to be done and information brought. So if with the committee's indulgence, I'd like to move deferral of this item to February when staff will be equipped to provide a deeper update.
Mr. Chair? I think it's important that you talk about what you did at council and bring the members up to date with that, because I'm not sure everyone knows that.
Deferral of this item to February when staff will be equipped to provide deeper. Sorry, Trustee Auger, are you speaking, or did you accidentally?
I think it's important that you talk about what you did. I can't hear anything.
Trustee Auger? Okay. Trustee Rizzo, I'm not sure if staff from the student nutrition, I think they're presenting at Board of Health right now, but we're proud of the work that was passed earlier that has seen us
It wasn't
commit.
me.
Okay, no
It
problem.
was somebody else.
Okay. Trustee Shan, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I don't think trustees TDSP has received any kind of formal information from the city on what has already happened, and so it'll be good to keep us in the loop. Maybe this item could be deferred, but if as a follow-up item, there could be some update from either the leadership of the city or the staff that are working on it to kind of keep us in the loop, because it's being talked about as a school-based program, but there might be conversations happening at different levels, but trustees are looking for a little bit more information on what's being thought out by the city, at least at the leadership level. So it would be helpful. It would be helpful to have that. Yeah.
Thank you, Trustee Shan. Completely agree with your request and statement. This was, I think, last month, the announcement, and if staff can quickly kind of describe where things are at, but ultimately there hasn't been much there, I guess, as a reaction perhaps to multiple factors, but Denise, if you can.
My apologies. So this is a lead, Toronto Public Health is the lead on this work. and I am not, I don't have the most current information. So I think what I wouldn't want to misrepresent the details by speaking off the top of my head. So what I would prefer is if we could, I don't know if there's a mechanism for us to do any follow-up communication, but I can certainly find the link from the council discussion and the council approval, and we can ensure that committee members receive that update.
Thank you, Denise. So Trustee Shannon, members, this item came to October Council, which I think was 2 weeks ago. The leads within public health are starting the work. Our hope is that they'll be in touch with the school boards shortly. They are meeting concurrently right now, and that was the logistical operational challenge to even have a brief verbal update from them. So, but point taken, and we'll ensure from the staff side to update members of the committee with links to the motion that was adopted by council 2 weeks ago. Is that okay? Is that fair, Trustee Shan? Trustee Rizzo?
Yeah, more so also, like, I think many of the trustees saw the kind of conversations about nutrition programming in schools through media, and we had not gotten direct communication around some of the thinking. So it's not just about, I mean, I can find the motion online, that's not an issue, but it'll be helpful to kind of have that relationship kind of established in this work, because I think we have the mechanisms in which this program will be administered are located as an arm's length model within TDSB, for example, and there's multiple stakeholders that needs to be engaged and so on. So first, it needs to be, since it was kind of an announcement that was made at many media outlets by the mayor, it was important for us to have at least some sort of a clarity on the direction through leadership. So I'll leave it to you and to the staff to figure out what format it is, but it's more not just necessarily for the trustees here, but to reach out to the school boards at the leadership level as well.
I agree, Trustee Shan. I think just broadly speaking, and I think we've made progress on communication between the city and school boards. So completely agree with your assessment, and I'll share that with the mayor and the mayor's office. But keeping in mind, it was just 2 weeks; it's still fresh, and there's and the lead is public health. So though it intersects with city school boards, of course, obviously, we'll ensure that, or we'll remind folks. Our students are better served when the more we intersect and communicate. Thank you. Trustee Rizzo?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, like, I am feeling, I don't know, why was it placed on the agenda in the first place? Just out of curiosity, like, wait, what's...
It was just... speaking of communication, a bit of lack of communication. I put it on the agenda thinking that we'd be able to, and it was only last week, but by then it was already published, the agenda, and then, and so last week at some point, staff and I had touched base about that there wouldn't be anything beyond what was passed in council, which is obviously publicly available, that could be shared.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's sort of really important for school boards to get speedy information on nutrition programs. I'll give you an example. Just a month ago, probably less than a month ago, I got a whole bunch of phone calls and emails from parents in a particular school because one of the parents, or one of the volunteers in the program, was not able to continue in that role, and they canceled the program. Like, do they know what it's like to cancel a program for the entire school community and what that does, right? I mean, like, there's certain things in terms of the dynamics of what occurs that you know, just in case, I mean, like, you know, we saved the program, you know, that's okay. But for example, how would I have, if it had been canceled, how would I have gotten it back on track? Given the financial disparities, how do I get new schools that are really in communities that require it? Because there was, you know, you don't call it a moratorium, I call it a moratorium, because there aren't any additional new programs in the that are being funded. Like, there's a whole bunch of, like, we need to sort of know the details.
Yeah, no, completely agree, Trustee Rizzo. I think that's what's happening right now. Just a reminder, it was just passed 2 weeks ago, and staff, I believe, are reaching out to school board staff to begin those details. I'll pass it over to Denise to share the recommendations that were adopted.
Again, like, we know, I mean, I know what was adopted, you know, like, we're pretty savvy on getting it, but I think that it's important for the public record to make sure that that this committee is in the loop. So,
Trustee Rizzo, I just have to reiterate, we are in the loop. It just was approved. Staff are working with staff to begin those details, those deliberations, right, those locations, the funding, the staffing, et cetera. Okay. Having no further, or hearing no further speakers, I can have a motion to receive this item for information. Oh, sorry, for deferral. Yeah. We are moving the consideration of this item be deferred until the next meeting. Trustee Burnside? Sorry, Councillor Burnside. Thank you. And all in favor? Okay, any opposed? Motion carried. The last item, second last item is City School Board's Advisory Committee 2025 meeting schedule. This is an information item. We've scheduled, as I referenced earlier, meetings for February, where's the dates? Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I'd like to deal with my item as well.
Yeah, that's coming up after this.
Oh, okay, yeah. After the meeting, okay.
No, after this item.
I got it, like the meeting date one.
Yeah, okay.
It's just that Councillor Pasternak's on the line.
Yeah, okay, if we can get to this, then we can get to that. Yeah, February 26, 2025, 9:30 a.m., June 18th, 2025, and November 5th, 2025. Can I have a motion to...
I'll move to a...
Thank you, Trustee Rizzo. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Thank you. Opposed, motion carried. And our last item is the motion Trustee Rizzo has brought forward. Looking for the title of it.
Cricket and gender equity.
There we go. Yeah, City of Toronto cricket background and strategy. I don't think that's the title of...
No, I gave you the
Here
title.
is City of Toronto cricket background strategy. Oh, that is, okay.
No, here, it's cricket and gender equity.
Okay, that's not titled on this.
I didn't put a title on it.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay, Trustee Rizzo, if you'd like to speak to it.
Yes, I would. Thank you very much. I'm hoping that that city staff will be able to engage the school community, the school boards, in looking at partnerships between school facilities and space and cricket. I just need to say that in my experience, we have let down our female students in many different ways. I'll give you one example that I actually gave Councillor Pasternak this morning, and that is, like, we built a brand new school, and we didn't make the track and field to regulation. as an example. If that had happened in a boys' school, everybody would have been screaming, or in a co-gender school, everybody would have been screaming, but no one even paid attention to the details of building a new school and making sure that what was being built was going to be useful and productive for the students that attended that school. There are 6 single-gender schools in the City of Toronto at the Toronto Catholic District School Board. All of those single-gender schools do not have any fields to speak of. Any fields to speak of. Any sports fields to speak of. They have some of the land, except for St. Joseph Wellesley, sort of around the corner here. Other than that, there are none that have that. And I brought a motion forward a while back to make sure that that sort of changed at our school board, because it was time that students and that students in those schools got the same benefits as everybody else. You know, brand new football fields and all those kinds of wonderful things, and soccer fields and that kind of thing. And it's very difficult to do, because in these times, there's not enough money to put, even with just 6 schools, there's not enough money to address the issue. But I think that we can do a lot more if there is a partnership. And I think that this motion does that. And all I want to happen is to have the discussion with city staff and school board staff to begin the process to garner the to garner the resources that we have collectively and do it as a partnership. And I believe that if we in fact had cricket pitch in a single gender school in the city of Toronto, it would be in fact the very first in North America. And I think that there's opportunities there for us to make sure that we try and do what's really important for the students and for the neighborhoods in where the schools are presently located. So with that, I'd like to ask Councillor Pasternak just to say a few words. Through you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Pasternak, please go ahead.
Yes, I'm recognized by the chair. Thank you so much, and good morning, everybody. It's great to see some familiar faces from council and school boards past. But I wanted to come on the call for a few minutes today to enthusiastic support Trustee Rizzo's motion to, in fact, enhance cricket assets on school board properties. You know, when it comes to the 600 plus, 700 plus schools that are in Toronto, these are remarkable assets that are open about half the year during the school year. And we must look for more and more opportunities to leverage that property, not only providing great programming for students during the school year, but of course, the wider community afterwards. And I was actually involved in the opening of a girls' cricket league up at the Azzurri Soccer Club some months ago, and it was very exciting to see all the young people, all the young women enjoying cricket, learning the sport, and enthusiastically playing. And I think cities are often judged on how their relationship with their school boards. And I've worked with Trustee Rizzo on a number of different city investments in school playgrounds. And when you see the enthusiasm of the staff and the students, you know you're building strong community, and that and it's my view that we're spending our resources very wisely in making sure that we're investing in our local schools. And it's important for everybody to realize that this will come with a community access agreement, that it'll be available for the wider community, and that in the area we do have adequate Section 37 to help support it. Madonna is a wonderful school. It has a great history. I've been to their graduations, which are remarkable events. And I think this kind of investment, for studying by staff, and of course, having the local community share their insights. We need buy-in from the student body and, of course, the leadership of the school. But I think this would be a great opportunity to work with the school board and expand council-directed policy to expand our cricket assets across the city. It's a fast-growing sport. I'd like to learn how to play myself. But I've seen firsthand young women learning cricket, and I think it has a great future, not only at this school but across the city. So I want to support this motion, and we're going to follow it closely as it works its way up to through executive and I guess up to council. So that concludes my remarks, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Trustee Rizzo, for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm not quite sure, but I believe that what we agreed to was to refer this to staff.
Yes.
So I would like to add, move that the recommendation in this particular submission be referred to staff and add a small one, which is to report back from Parks and Recreation staff following their engagement with their school boards. So we have some.
So that is on the agenda in February. So they will be reporting back on the cricket strategy.
Right. I don't want them to report back on the cricket strategy. I want them to engage. Before they report back on the cricket strategy.
So that's what's happening right now. Our team within
Okay,
EFR.
so all I want is a report back from the staff.
Right.
To make sure that when that occurs in February, that they have engaged with the school boards.
Yeah, okay, that's perfectly fine, we can do that, but just for public record, that is exactly what is happening as a result of the cricket strategy.
I'd really like that to be on the record.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so that's what, do I need to move the?
I think we can figure out the language, yeah, so that the City School Board's Advisory Committee refer the item to the General Manager, Parks, Forestry and Recreation, and that staff continue engagement with the school boards on this item.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Rizzo.
May I say thank you to Councillor Pasternak for his.
Thank you, Councillor Pasternak.
Every word is completely true.
You're most welcome, and good luck with the rest of the meeting. Take care.
Thanks.
Okay. Trustee Rizzo, hopefully you can move this. You can move this motion that the city. Yeah. That the City School Board's Advisory Committee refer the item to the General Manager, Parks, Forestry and Recreation, and staff continue the engagement of school boards on this item.
Perfect.
Okay, excellent. All in favor? Great. Motion adopted. And which brings us to our closure. But before we adjourn, we were informed from a community organization that the Ontario Ministry of Education is currently accepting submissions as part of its consultation on funding. These submissions are due November 8th. An engagement guide has been created and is available online. Can that link and guide be shared with members from staff to staff? Okay, excellent. And then one last motion to...
Speaking of education,
Yes, yeah. Last motion is to excuse absences. Could I have someone please move the motion to excuse the absences of members not in attendance today?
I'll move that. if
Thank you, Trustee Rizzo. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Excellent. That concludes our business for today. Thank you, everyone, for participating. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, trustees online.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
What's that? Oh, nice to see you.